guys, Christy here with It's a Book Thing, and I have been missing in action for like probably 6 months, and I am finally back, and I am not in focus. Or there we go. We'll edit that out later, I think. I am finally back. Back in action, whatever you want to call it, but I am back and ready to go. So let's see what has been going on since I was last here on YouTube BookTube. Let's see, it was the holidays and both my kids' birthdays and the holidays, like I said, and then it was the first of the year, and then I had to finish book 3 in my writing, my authors, and then it was just life was just, life got away from me. And if you run over to my blog, you'll see I did a big huge blog on that will be posted either tonight or tomorrow, and it'll go into detail about everything that has gone on in the last 5 or 6 months, and so you can go run over to my blog and see all the stuff that I have to say about that. So life just took over. And then I just got busy just doing so many different things, and my day job just was crazy. So that's what I was up to. So I'm not going to say and do a lot of things for that, because just run over to my blog. The link will be, of course, below, about everything that I was doing. And I'm going to do a March wrap up. And instead of doing an April to be read, I'm going to do books that I'm really excited that are going to be published this year. I know that's something that we usually do on BookTube in January, but since I wasn't around in January, I'm going to do that now. All of those books have not, except for one that I haven't gotten a hold of yet, all of those books have not yet been published, so I think it's relevant, and I think it's cool to do anyway. So I read 10 books in March, and without further ado, let's get started. All of those books I did read on my tablet, so we will go ahead and put those up here in post, and then you'll get to see the covers for those. They were all, except for one, reviewed on my Goodreads account. The link, of course, will be below. So make sure that you check out those reviews. And without further ado, let's go. The first book I read was Romeo Romeo. That's an adult contemporary romance. Domestic Gods 1 by Robin Kaye. This is how do I put it? It was my big fat Greek wedding, but Italian style. And I thought it was a really funny romance that had a little bit of a different take on it, shall we say. It had a take where the male was the guy who was did the cleaning, he's the one who took care of the lady who was the go-getter. He's a self-made millionaire, and he was the one who took care of her. It was a really cute story. Had not a really high heat level. I would say maybe a 3, 4 heat level, but the story was cute. It had some really funny side characters that really kept it going. I loved Dave, who was the dog, the Saint Bernard. He kept the story moving forward. I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. Great story. I liked the idea of a self-made millionaire, male millionaire, who did all the cooking and cleaning. What woman wouldn't want that? The second book I read in March was Too Hot to Handle. This is the second book in the companion novels in the Domestic Gods series by Robin Kaye. So this is the best friend, Mike, I believe, yes, Mike, to Romeo Romeo, which was the first book that I read in the month. So this wasn't as good. Mike is a doctor, a pulmonologist, and I didn't really like this book as much as I liked Romeo Romeo. I only gave this one 3 stars. It was good. It wasn't great. It wasn't as great as the first one. So I'm probably not going to continue reading the rest of the companion novels. There were several more of the Domestic Gods books, companion novels in the series. He died right in the middle of filming there. So I had to move to a different location where I had a different plug. So here we are in a different location where I have a different plug. So no beautiful bookcase behind me, but I do have a plug for my computer. So so I was back to Too Hot to Handle, Domestic Gods, #2 by Robin Kaye. I didn't like this one as much. It wasn't as good. It didn't have as much excitement to it. There was a lot more drama to it, but not as much with the characters. And they made it feel like the domestic part, where the guy was more domestic than the girl, made it feel like he kind of had an OCD problem. So didn't like it as much. So I only gave this one Too Hot to Handle. I only gave it 3 out of 5 stars. So not as good. Didn't like it as much. There you have it. The third book that I read in March was Lick, Stage Dive #1 by Kylie Scott. This book I adored, loved it. I thought it was phenomenal. Now, this was a new adult novel, and it was my first rock star book about a band. Now, which young girl, young boy, how many people don't at one point in their life fall in love with a rock star? So I loved this book. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and it went straight onto Best Reads for 2014. Stars David, who is the lead guitarist for a group called Stage Dive, and he is just this dark character who you just can't help but fall in love with because you just want him to redeem himself. And Evie, who is a young adult who is just trying to find her place in the world, and you really root for these characters. And she spends her 21st birthday in Vegas and does some stupid stuff and wakes up married to David, who is a rock star, and you're just like, yes. Now, here's my caveat to Lick. It has a heat rating, a high heat rating, like 5. So I do not recommend this for the younger audiences, but hubba bubba for those who are willing to take on the risk of a very hot and steamy read. Loved it, loved it, loved it. I would recommend it very highly. It was a great, hot, steamy read. Very nice, very, very nice. Okay, the 4th book I read in March was Jellybean Kisses by Amy Evans. Now, let me just tell you that when I ran across this book last year, I fell in love with the blurb. I was like so excited to read this book. I couldn't wait for it to come out. The first time I saw it, it was scheduled to come out like in November, and then it was put off till December, and then in December it was put off till January, and then in January it was put off till February, and then it finally came out, and I was so excited I couldn't stand it. And so I was thrilled when it finally came out, and then I read it, and I was so disappointed. And I gave it 1 star, and that's all I'm going to say, because you feel bad when you have to give 1 star to a book, but it was horrifyingly disappointing, especially when you really, really, truly look forward for a book to come out. But did not like it. Did not like it. In fact, I reread it because it was a novella, and I thought, no, I missed something. Didn't miss anything. Horrifyingly disappointing. That's all I can say. Okay, the 5th book I read in March was Leo, Sign of Love, #1. So I assume there's going to be more. And this was written by Mia Sheridan. And this book is about 2 foster kids. They met in foster care, and they promised that they would get back together when they turned 18 because they fell in love. 8 years after that, Evie, who is the heroine in the story, meets up with a young man by the name of, I think I want to say his name is Jake. And he comes back and says that Leo, who is the young man that she knew in foster care, has passed away, and so she gets involved with Jake instead. And I'm not going to tell you how the book ends, but it was okay. It was a little bit darker than things that I typically read, so this was another new adult romance. It was a little bit darker than books that I typically read, and so it kind of took me out of my comfort zone in that it was darker than stuff that I typically read. It was okay, but like I said, it was a little darker than what I usually like to read. So I only gave this one 3 stars. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that, because it was a little darker, but it wasn't bad. It was really well written. So then I went back to the rocker stories because I was really kind of into, let's read some more rock star things because that was kind of fun. So I read another kind of novella story, and it was called The Rocker That Holds Me by Terri Ann Browning. And this was kind of a novella. It was a little bit longer than a novella. And I gave this one 5 stars. It was really cute. It was about a young girl who was basically raised by 5 rock stars, and she falls in love with one of those rock stars. And the reason I gave it 5 stars was because the other, the side characters in it, the other rock stars, they are hysterical, and some of the lines in it were just so cute, and so I loved it. It was a great, fun, and interesting read. I loved the backstory. I thought was just heartwarming. Just a really well done love story, I thought. Cute. I thought, anybody who wants to read a fun, very quick read. I thought that the hero in the story, the way that he reacts to the heroine in this is just way, way cute. So onward with the rock stars, because that was the theme, I guess, for the for March. The next book I read was Music of the Heart, Runaway Train, #1 by Katie Ashley. I I I didn't like this book. I only gave it 2 stars. I probably would have given it 1, but I gave it 2 because I thought that there were some redeeming qualities of the book. I think that I named the review on Amazon, "Somebody forgot to take their medication." Um, because I kind of felt like the lead male character, um, Jake, that felt like he almost had a personality disorder. Like some moments it was like he was just this happy-go-lucky guy, and other times he had like this intense character, and you were like, who is he going to be today? And I understood that he had like this really, really intense moments and that he was going through a lot, and other times he just wanted to be loved, but it was like, it was really, really hard to know what he was doing. And I kind of felt bad for Abby, the lead girl in it, and I was just like, what? 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 So, yeah, 2 out of 5 stars on that. I really liked parts, and then I really hated parts. So if you want to read a book where you're like, huh? I don't get it. What's going on? What is the lead character doing? So because I liked parts and I disliked parts, I couldn't decide if it was the writer, if it was the author, or if it was just the characters. And I read reviews online on Goodreads and Amazon that it was the book and not the author. I went and read the next book, another book by this author. I read The Proposition and the Proposal by Katie Ashley. Now, The Proposition is the first book in a 2-book duology, excuse me. Emma Harrison and Aiden Fitzgerald. Now, feels her biological clock ticking and desperately wants to have a child. The company womanizer, Aiden Fitzgerald, finds out about this. He's always wanted to sleep with Emma, offers to be her sperm donor, and but only if she'll conceive the natural way. So, and that is The Proposition. That's book 1, The Proposition. Ends in a cliffhanger. And if you've watched any of my videos, you know how I feel about cliffhangers. Hate them, despise them. Luckily, The Proposal, which is book 2, is out already, so I was able to download that immediately and read book 2. And so I did so. Both the books are good. Not stellar, not, like bowl me over fantastic. Well, they were good. I gave them both 3 out of 5 stars. They didn't, knock my socks off. I really liked Aiden. He was swoon-worthy. He was great. Emma, I thought, I kind of wanted to slap her a couple of times. I thought that she could have been a lot more, like, Aiden's a catch. I thought that she could have, yeah, well, yeah, okay. And then my 10th and final book that I read in March was Play, which is the second book in the Stage Dive series by Kylie Scott. And this book follows Mal, who is the drummer for Stage Dive, and great, great, great novel. Funny, funny, funny novel. So hysterical. I really seriously laughed out loud. Like, my husband and my son thought I'd lost my mind because at one point I just put the book down and laughed. And funny. So sometimes you just need a book where you can just laugh your head off, and that was this book. So that is a play. So I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. Wasn't as heart gripping for the romance side as Lick, which I gave 5 out of 5 stars, but it was pretty damn good. So those were the books that I read in March, and they were pretty great. So yeah, 10 books in March. That's not bad. I don't think I read that many books in February or even in January for that matter. Just off the top of my head, I think that I might have in February, it looks like I only read 2 books, and in January I read 8. So I did read a lot more. They were short. They were shorter books, of course, but I did read more books in March. So the books that I'm looking forward to read that are coming out in the year of 2014, besides my very own 3rd book, Reaper Mine is the 3rd book in the books that I am writing. It's going to be coming out early summer, hopefully June is when my book will be released. But the books I'm looking forward to reading, Ignite Me, which is the 3rd and final book in the Shatter Me series by Tahereh Mafi. I know that it came out in February. I have not yet gotten it, but I'm looking forward to obtaining that and reading it. So I'm very excited about that. Another book that I'm very, very excited about getting, I'm like giddy over, is Heir of Fire, which is the 3rd book in the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. That is going to be released in September. I'm so excited about that one. The next book I'm really, really excited about is Rune and Rising, which is the 3rd book in the Grisha trilogy, which is the Shadow and Bone series by Leah Bardugo. That is coming out in June of this year. Really excited about that. I think that is a high fantasy book that is just a really great series that I can't say enough great things about. Okay, I know that I said I wasn't really excited about this, that I wasn't like on bated breath for it to come out, but you know, I am actually pretty excited to read it just to see what's going to happen, and I kind of hate myself a little bit for it, but I'm actually looking forward to The Infinity Sea by Rick Yancey. This is the 2nd book in the 5th Wave series, and it's coming out in September of this year, so like I said, I hate myself just a tiny bit because I didn't really like the 5th Wave, but it kind of grabs you at the end and leaves you making you go, I wonder what's going to happen next. So, like I said, I kind of hate myself just a tiny bit for that, but what are you going to do? I'm looking forward to The Darkest Minds 3. It doesn't have a title yet, but I know that that is due out again in September. A lot of books in September. It's going to be a crazy month. The Forever Song by Julia Kagawa, that's due out April the 15th, so a couple weeks. I'm really excited about that. Of Neptune, The Serena Legacy by Anna Banks, that's due out in May, so next month. I really, really loved this series when it came out a couple years ago, so I'm looking forward to that. And then the Mime Order, which is the 2nd book in the Bone Season book series by Samantha Shannon. That was one of my top books last year. I'm really excited for that to come out. Wow, this was a really long video, and I didn't want it to be long, and we had to change venues really quickly in the middle of it, so we will make sure to splice that all in post. If you haven't already, make sure that you subscribe. And if you have any questions, comments, or emotional outposts, make sure that you post those below. I love to hear from fans. if you want to stop over at my blog, you can do that. All the links will be below. I will be posting vlogs once a week. If you have any questions, make sure that you post those again below. I try to respond to those within 24 hours. If you want me to review something specific, that you can also post below. I think I've covered everything. If not, I apologize. But I'm glad to be back. It was a much needed vacation. Not meant to be as long as it ended up being. But, you know, sometimes you just have to go with the flow and do what needs to be done. But I'm glad to, like I said, I'm glad to be back. And I hope everybody has a wonderful day and evening and wherever you happen to be around the globe. Keep reading. It's a passion that I have, that I love, that keeps me stable in life. And have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.